The majestic crystal towers of the luminary capital city gleamed under the glow of their twin suns, casting a radiant light across the central council chamber. First Speaker Tom gently placed his almost transparent hands on the neural interface of his command chair. His silver eyes reflected the looming holographic projection, a dire warning of his civilization's impending doom. "They will arrive in 3 standard cycles," he said, his voice shaking. The council members' bioluminescent patterns flickered with fear, casting shifting blue shadows across the chamber's pristine white walls. The Ravager fleet moved through space like a swarm of locusts, their ships, crude and constructed from the ravaged resources of countless worlds they had destroyed. Scanners showed over 200 vessels, each bristling with enough weaponry to crack a planet's crust. "We cannot fight them," said Second Speaker Ray, his crystalline skin clouded with stress. "Our defense fleet is only 30 ships. We are healers, not warriors." He gestured to the floating holographic readouts, showing that even their strongest weapons were designed to disable, not destroy. The luminary had evolved on a gentle world with weak gravity and a stable climate, developing advanced technologies focused on preservation and healing. Their bodies could convert light into energy, and their touch could mend injuries. However, they were physically fragile. A fall from standing height could shatter their crystal-like bones. First Speaker Tom closed his eyes, recalling the reports from other worlds that had faced the Ravagers. The invaders would land their colossal ships, enslave the population, and strip the planet of its valuable resources. Those who resisted were destroyed without mercy. "There might be one option," said Third Speaker Ben, his voice quiet. All eyes turned to him as the patterns of light across his skin deepened to a hue of uncertainty. "We could activate the Deathworlder protocol." The chamber erupted in flashing red and yellow, the colors of fear and shock. The Deathworlder protocol was their most desperate measure, conceived after detecting a new spacefaring race from a planet considered lethal by most species, the humans. "They're monsters," Second Speaker Ray's voice cracked. "Their planet has almost twice our gravity. They evolved as pursuit predators. Their bodies are filled with hostile bacteria. They can consume foods that would poison most species. They are nearly invulnerable compared to us." "Exactly," Third Speaker Ben responded. "They are everything we're not, and everything the Ravagers aren't expecting." First Speaker Tom displayed new holographic images, sleek, powerful human ships, built to endure conditions that would tear a luminary craft apart. Data next to each vessel showed chilling details: crews capable of surviving crushing gravitational forces, weapons designed to destroy, not disable, and armor that could withstand impacts that would vaporize a luminary vessel. "The humans are new to the galactic community," Tom said slowly. "Most species avoid them because of their physical capabilities, but their diplomatic messages have always been peaceful. They've offered help to any civilization in need. If we call them," warned Second Speaker Ray, "we invite predators to our world. You've seen the footage. They show their teeth when they're happy. They can break bones with a casual grip. Their soldiers train by running for hours with heavy weights." "That's true," Tom agreed. "But what's more dangerous, inviting predators who've offered friendship, or waiting for scavengers who've promised only death?" The chamber fell silent. The luminary, by nature and necessity, were peaceful. Their bodies couldn't handle violence, and their technology was focused on preservation rather than destruction. They had survived by being useful to other species, offering medical knowledge in exchange for protection. But now, with the Ravager fleet on the horizon, their usual protectors were too far away to help. They needed something unprecedented, something the Ravagers wouldn't expect. They needed monsters. First Speaker Tom straightened in his chair, his skin glowing with the blue light of resolve. "I call for a vote. The motion is to activate the Deathworlder protocol and request aid from the human fleet. All in favor?" One by one, the council members' skin patterns shifted to blue, signaling agreement. Even Second Speaker Ray, who nodded reluctantly. "The motion passes," Tom declared. He placed his hand on the emergency beacon controls. May the light protect us all. The signal shot into space, racing toward Earth at faster than light speeds. The luminary had just done something unprecedented in their history. They had asked the monsters for help. Admiral James Walker was eating a sandwich in his quarters when the emergency alert flashed across his screen. He quickly wiped his hands and pressed the flashing red icon. A message appeared, written in standard galactic code. Your GN luminary civilization requests immediate military aid. Ravager fleet approaching. Invoking Deathworlder protocol. Please help. Without hesitation, Walker hit the ship-wide communication button while pulling on his uniform jacket. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. The flagship Kara's Fury sprang to life with activity as Walker strode onto the bridge, where his crew was already preparing for action. The massive view screen displayed the positions of every human ship in the sector. Sir called out his communications officer, Robert. I've confirmed the distress signal. The luminary homeworld will be under attack in less than 3 days. They have minimal defenses. Walker nodded, recalling the briefing about the luminary, a species so physically fragile that they had developed extraordinary healing technologies just to survive. Their bodies were nearly transparent and couldn't withstand Earth normal gravity. How many ships can we gather in time? Walker asked. His tactical officer, Kate, brought up a holographic map. We have 15 warships within range, sir. The Ravagers have over 200 vessels. The bridge grew silent. Those were terrible odds. But Walker smiled, showing his teeth in an expression that many species would find terrifying. Perfect, he said. Send the call. I want every ship ready for jump in 30 minutes. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. On the tactical display, green dots representing human ships began moving toward their position. Each vessel was a marvel of engineering, built to withstand conditions that would crush most alien ships. Sir Robert said, The luminary sent more details. The Ravagers don't know we're coming. They're expecting an easy victory over a peaceful species. Then let's give them a surprise, Walker replied. He opened a channel to all responding ships. This is Admiral Walker. Today we face an enemy that preys on the weak. They think they're hunting easy targets. They don't know they're about to meet humanity. Throughout the fleet, crews prepared for battle. In engine rooms, technicians ran systems designed to survive forces that would kill most alien engineers. In weapon bays, gunners checked targeting systems built to work even under crushing gravity. Marines strapped themselves into drop pods, ready to fight in conditions that would be fatal to most species. Jump calculations complete, the navigation officer announced. All ships report ready. Walker took his command chair. Send a message to the luminary. Tell them to hold on. The monsters are coming to help. The human fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel. Inside the ships, the crews felt the familiar pull of jump forces, pressures that would turn most alien species to paste. But humans had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day, and they had learned to thrive under conditions others found impossible. During the journey, Walker studied the Ravager fleet data. Their ships were tough but slow, relying on brute force rather than finesse. They had never faced an enemy with the resilience to match their own. They've never fought humans, Walker muttered to himself. They don't expect anyone to survive direct hits, Walker grinned. Human ships were built differently, designed to endure hits that would obliterate other vessels. They were armored with materials developed on their perilous homeworld. Status report from all ships, he ordered, his tone sharp. Responses came swiftly. Every vessel was combat ready, and the crews were eager for their first real fight since joining the galactic community. Most alien species avoided conflict with humans, fearing their physical abilities. Now, those same capabilities would be used to protect the defenseless. 10 minutes to luminary space, the navigation officer announced. Walker stood, his stance firm, despite the crushing forces of faster-than-light travel, battle stations. Let's show these Ravagers why they should have checked what planet we evolved on. The human fleet surged through space, carrying warriors born on a death world, ready to protect those who couldn't defend themselves. They weren't just fighting for the Luminary now, they were fighting to show the galaxy that humanity's strength wasn't solely for destruction, it could be used for defense. The monsters were coming, but these monsters had honor. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel above the Luminary homeworld. Below, the planet was beautiful pink oceans and gleaming white crystal cities sparkling under twin suns. Inside the central council chamber, the Luminary were overwhelmed with emotion at the sight of the human ships. They actually came first, Speaker Tom whispered, watching the massive vessels through the chamber's viewing crystal. The human ships were dark and powerful, nothing like the elegant Luminary vessels. They looked like the weapons they were. Commander Lisa Thompson led the first shuttle down to the surface. As the human delegation stepped onto the landing pad, several Luminary guards stumbled backward, clearly unprepared to see humans up close. "Greetings," Lisa said, attempting a gentle smile. She had been briefed on how intimidating human expressions could be to other species. "We're here to help." The Luminary delegation approached cautiously, their semi-transparent bodies revealing the rapid beating of their crystal-like hearts. They moved as though the planet's low gravity was a heavy burden. "Welcome, human warriors," Tom said, his voice trembling slightly. "We have prepared a meeting room to discuss strategy." The humans followed their hosts into a stunning crystal building. Lisa noticed the Luminary's expressions of horror as her boots made solid thuds against the floor. To them, such heavy footsteps must have sounded like explosions. The real cultural shock began inside the meeting room. The Luminary had prepared refreshments for both species and watched in both fascination and fear as the humans casually consumed what they considered deadly substances: hot coffee, spicy snacks, and acidic fruits. "Is that not painful?" one Luminary asked, his skin flickering with concern as Lisa bit into an apple. "Not at all," Lisa replied, immediately regretting her words when she saw their reaction. Her teeth must have looked monstrous to them, casually tearing into solid food as though it were nothing. The tactical discussion wasn't any easier. When Lisa pulled up the battle plans on her tablet, she had to catch it when a Luminary aide accidentally dropped it. "How can you hold such a heavy device?" the aide asked, rubbing his delicate hands. "It's lightweight aluminum," Lisa explained, then realized that what humans considered lightweight could crush a Luminary's bones. The real shock came when they toured the human ship. The Luminary engineers almost fainted when they saw the gravity settings in different sections. "You live in this?" the chief engineer asked, his skin paling with horror as he looked at the readings. "This is almost double our normal gravity." "Actually, this is set lower than Earth normal," one of the human engineers explained. "We turned it down for your comfort." The tour had to be cut short when they reached the training room. The sight of humans sparring, moving at what seemed like impossible speeds and striking with forces that could shatter Luminary bodies was too much for their hosts to bear. But everything changed when the tactical briefing began. Admiral Walker presented the battle plans, explaining how the human fleet would protect the Luminary world. "Your city's crystal structures will actually help us," he explained. "We can use them to reflect our energy weapons, creating a defensive grid that the Ravagers won't expect." The Luminary watched in growing hope as the humans demonstrated their combat simulations. Yes, these creatures were terrifying. Yes, they moved like predators and carried enough natural weapons in their bodies to destroy a Luminary with a single touch. But all that power was now directed at protecting them. "We've positioned our ships to take advantage of your planet's magnetic field," Lisa explained. "Our crews can handle the gravitational stress of the maneuvers we're planning. The Ravagers won't know what hit them." As the meeting ended, First Speaker Tom addressed the human commander, his skin glowing with a new pattern, one that mixed fear with hope. When we first discovered your species, he said, we called you Deathworlders, we feared you. But now we understand. Sometimes it takes monsters to fight monsters. And you are our monsters. Lisa stood tall and proud, no longer trying to hide her strength. We're not here to scare you, she said. We're here to scare them. Outside, the human fleet took up defensive positions, their powerful engines glowing like artificial stars. The monsters were ready for war. The Ravager fleet appeared as a dark cloud at the edge of the luminary system. Their ships were ugly, covered in spikes and weapons scavenged from 100 conquered worlds. In the lead vessel's command center, Ravager Captain Gray looked at the scanner readings and laughed. Only 30 luminary ships, he growled. And what are these other vessels? Just 15 unknown ships. This will be easier than we thought. On board the Terrace Fury, Admiral Walker watched the Ravager fleet approach. All ships, battle formations, he ordered. Show them what humans can do. The human fleet moved with surprising speed, their engines burning hot enough to be seen with the naked eye, performing maneuvers that would kill most alien species. The gravity forces inside the ships would have turned any other race to paste, but the human crews grinned and held on. Sir Kate called from her tactical station. The Ravagers are broadcasting their demands. They're still following their usual pattern. They don't realize we're not luminary. Walker smiled. Let's introduce ourselves then. All ships, execute Battle Plan Thunder. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The Ravagers, used to enemies fleeing or making desperate last stands, were confused by the aggressive movement. What are they doing? Captain Gray demanded, watching the unknown ships charge straight toward his fleet. No one attacks the Ravagers head-on. Fire the main guns. The Ravager ships launched their first volley, firing planet-cracking weapons, expecting to vaporize the smaller human fleet. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships took direct hits and kept coming. Hull integrity at 85%, Robert reported calmly on the Terrace Fury. Minimal damage. Those weapons were designed to break planets, not ships built to survive a Deathworld's gravity. Walker nodded. Return fire. Show them what Earth weapons can do. The human fleet's response was devastating. Their weapons, designed to work in Earth's gravity and atmosphere, hit with a force the Ravagers had never encountered. The first volley tore through 3 Ravager ships like they were made of paper. Impossible. Captain Gray slammed his fist on the command console. What kind of ships are these? What species built them? The answer came in a transmission from the Terrace Fury. Walker's face appeared on their screens, showing his teeth in what the Ravagers would learn was a human smile. We're humanity, Walker said. We come from a planet. Our ships are built to survive conditions that would destroy your fleet. And we're just getting started. The battle erupted into chaos. The human ships moved in ways that defied the Ravagers' experience. They executed turns that should have torn their ships apart, absorbed hits that should have vaporized them, and retaliated with weapons that sliced through Ravager armor like paper. How are they doing this? A Ravager officer screamed as another of their ships exploded. Their crews should be dead from those maneuvers. In the Luminary Central Council chamber, the alien leaders watched in awe as their defenders fought. The humans moved like demons, their ships dancing through space in a deadly ballet of fire and steel. Look at how they move. First speaker Tom whispered, his skin glowing with patterns of amazement. The G-forces they're surviving. It's beyond anything we thought possible. The Ravagers attempted to regroup and use their superior numbers, but the human ships were everywhere, hitting hard and fast. When the Ravagers concentrated their fire on one human ship, it took the hits and kept fighting while its companions tore the attackers apart. All ships, execute maneuver Earthquake, Walker commanded. The human fleet spun in a complex pattern that would have liquefied any other species' crews. The Ravagers found themselves caught in a web of crossfire. Captain Gray watched in horror as his fleet's advantage evaporated. "These aren't the easy victims I'm used to hunting," he yelled. "These are predators from a world forged in gravity, pressure, and violence. These are Deathworlders, and they're winning." Sir Kate reported with satisfaction, "The Ravager fleet is starting to break formation. They've never faced an enemy that can take their hits and hit back harder." Walker nodded, pressing the advantage. "Show them what happens when they pick on someone who can actually fight back." The battle raged on, but now everyone knew the monsters weren't the ones running away. Despite the human fleet's success in space, some Ravager ships managed to break through and land troops on the Luminary homeworld. The crystal cities trembled as drop pods slammed into the surface, but the Ravagers weren't the only ones who had landed. Marine Captain Mike Russell stood at the entrance of a Luminary hospital, his combat armor gleaming under the twin suns. 30 human Marines stood ready, preparing to protect the medical center and its fragile staff from the advancing Ravager ground forces. "They're coming," his surgeon Dave reported. 20,000 Ravager troops heading straight for us. They probably want to capture Luminary medical technology. Mike checked his weapon. "Well, let's show them what happens when you fight humans on the ground." The Ravagers appeared at the end of the street, their armor covered in trophies from conquered worlds. They stopped in surprise when they saw the humans. Like most species, they had expected the physically fragile Luminary to be their only opposition. "What are these creatures?" the Ravager ground commander asked, seeing the humans standing casually in gravity that would have strained most species. The answer came in the form of human gunfire. The Marines' weapons, designed for Earth's heavy gravity and dense atmosphere, tore through Ravager armor like cloth. "Push forward," Mike ordered. The Marines moved with shocking speed, their bodies conditioned by life on Earth to handle physical stress that would kill most aliens. The Ravagers fired back, but they were stunned to see the humans power through hits that would have dropped any other species. The Marines' armor, built to withstand Earth's punishing conditions, shrugged off their weapons. Inside the hospital, the Luminary medical staff watched in awe through crystal windows. They saw humans running at full speed while carrying heavy weapons, something their bodies could never do. They saw humans taking hits, bleeding, and continuing to fight. Their robust bodies healed faster than any non-Luminary species they had ever seen. "Look at them move," one Luminary doctor whispered, his skin patterns showing amazement. "The physical strain alone should kill them." The battle in the street grew more intense. The Ravagers, used to breaking their enemies' will with shows of force, found themselves facing creatures who seemed to enjoy the violence. "You call this combat?" Mike shouted, knocking down 3 Ravagers with his armored fist. "We train in higher gravity than this." The Marines demonstrated why humans were feared across the galaxy. They moved with predatory grace, their bodies performing feats that most species would consider impossible. When they ran out of ammunition, they fought hand to hand, their Earth-evolved muscles easily overwhelming the Ravagers. Sir Dave called out, pointing at a group of Ravagers setting up a heavy weapon. "They're bringing up their big guns." The Ravagers fired their strongest ground weapon, a cannon designed to crack bunkers. The blast hit Mike's position directly. When the smoke cleared, the Ravagers stared in shock. The humans were still standing. "Nice try," Mike said, brushing dust from his shoulder. "We test our armor in volcanic vents back home. Now it's our turn." The Marines counterattacked with everything they had. They threw grenades that would have broken most aliens' arms just to lift. They sprinted through toxic gas that the Ravagers had released, their Earth-evolved lungs easily filtering it out. They engaged in close combat that looked more like a force of nature than military action. From their command post, the Luminary Council watched the battle through their sensors. They saw humans performing feats that defied their understanding of biology. They saw Marines fighting for hours without rest, their bodies conditioned by Earth's gravity to handle extended combat. "They're not just winning," first speaker Tom said. his skin glowing with patterns of hope. They're making it look easy. The Ravagers began to retreat, their confidence shattered by these creatures who treated their strongest weapons as mere inconveniences. They had come expecting easy prey. Instead, they had found predators. Mike watched the Ravagers run, then checked on his Marines. Despite hours of combat in conditions that would have killed most species, his troops were ready for more. "Command, this is Russell," he reported. "Hospital secure. Permission to pursue and eliminate remaining ground forces." The response was immediate. "Permission granted. Happy hunting, Marines." The monsters were going hunting and the Ravagers were the prey. Ravager Captain Gray stood on his command bridge, watching his fleet fall apart. The humans had destroyed nearly half his ships, and their ground forces were crushing his troops on the surface. In desperation, he opened a sealed compartment on his ship. "If we can't beat them with normal weapons," he snarled, "let's see how they handle our biological weapons. Release the death cloud." The remaining Ravager ships launched thousands of black canisters toward both the human fleet and the planet's surface. These containers held their most deadly weapon, a virus engineered to kill most known species. Admiral Walker watched the canisters on his screen. "All ships hold position," he ordered. "Let's see what they're trying." The canisters burst, releasing clouds of black mist. The Ravagers watched eagerly, expecting to see the human ships, power fading as their crews perished. The Ravagers instead heard laughter crackle over their communications channels. "Is that all?" Walker's voice came through clearly. "We have worse bacteria in our digestive systems. Our immune systems devour viruses like this for breakfast." On the planet's surface, Marine Captain Mike and his troops watched as the black mist swirled around them. Their suit's sensors analyzed the virus. Sir Dave reported, chuckling, "This virus is less dangerous than the common cold back on Earth. Our bodies are already neutralizing it." The Luminary watched in amazement from their sealed buildings as the deadly virus, which had decimated other species, had no effect on the humans. Their Earth-evolved immune systems, honed to fight off countless deadly diseases, proved too powerful. "How is this possible?" First speaker Tom asked, his skin pattern showing disbelief. "This virus has decimated other species." Walker saw their chance. "All ships, execute Operation Thunderstorm," he ordered. "Let's show them what real warfare looks like." The human fleet moved with flawless coordination. The Luminary's advanced sensors integrated into the human ship systems, providing targeting data more accurate than the Ravagers had ever encountered. "Mom," Robert called to Commander Lisa aboard the Terrace Fury, "the Luminary sensors are incredible. We can see inside their ships." Lisa nodded. "Send targeting data to all ships. Don't waste a single shot." The human fleet's attack was devastating. Every shot hit a critical system. The Ravagers watched in horror as their ships exploded one after another, each strike impossibly precise. On the ground, Mike's Marines pressed forward. The Ravagers' last desperate weapon had failed, and now they faced the full fury of the humans, who no longer needed to hold back. "Forward," Mike ordered. The Marines moved like the predators they were, their bodies capable of feats that seemed like magic to other species. Captain Gray watched as his fleet was obliterated. These creatures had survived their strongest weapons, shrugged off viruses that killed other species, and moved in gravity that should have crushed them. "What are you?" he transmitted desperately to the human fleet. "We're what happens when life evolves on a planet that tries to kill it every day," Walker replied. "We're what happens when a species survives floods, earthquakes, predators, diseases, and worse. We're humanity, and you picked the wrong civilization to attack." The final attack was flawless. Human ships, guided by Luminary sensors, struck from angles the Ravagers hadn't even known existed. Marines on the ground, their bodies operating at levels impossible for other species, crushed the last resistance. In the Luminary Council chamber, first speaker Tom watched the battle end. His skin glowed with patterns never before seen in his species, a combination of awe, gratitude, and pride. "The Deathworlders," he said softly. "We feared them because they evolved in conditions we couldn't survive, but that same brutal evolution made them perfect protectors." The last Ravager ship exploded. Captain Gray's final transmission cut off mid-screen. On the surface, the remaining Ravager ground forces surrendered to the unstoppable human Marines. Admiral Walker stood on his bridge, surveying the aftermath. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them the Luminary are under our protection now. Let the galaxy know humanity stands ready to defend those who can't defend themselves." The monsters had become guardians, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 month after the battle, the Luminary capital city sparkled under its twin suns. But now, among the crystal spires, a new structure stood, the first human embassy on the Luminary homeworld. Its strong, dark walls contrasted with the delicate crystal architecture around it, just as its inhabitants contrasted with the gentle Luminary. First speaker Tom stood in the grand chamber, addressing both his people and the human representatives. His skin glowed with patterns of joy and confidence, emotions that had been rare among the Luminary before the humans arrived. "1 month ago," he said, "we called upon the Deathworlders in our darkest hour. We called them monsters. We feared their strength. Now we understand that strength can protect as well as destroy." Admiral Walker stood nearby, trying to maintain a neutral expression to avoid frightening the Luminary with his teeth. Commander Lisa and Captain Mike stood with him, their combat armor replaced with formal uniforms, though still marking them as warriors. "The humans have agreed to establish a permanent defense fleet in our system," Tom announced. "In exchange, we will share our medical technology with Earth. Their bodies evolved to survive conditions we find impossible. Combined with our healing knowledge, we'll make them even more formidable guardians." In the months since the battle, the relationship between humans and the Luminary had changed dramatically. Luminary doctors were fascinated by human biology, how their bones could withstand such pressure, how their muscles could exert such force, how their immune systems could fight off almost anything. "We've already made discoveries," a Luminary doctor reported, her skin patterns showing excitement. "Human tissue regeneration combined with our healing technology works better than either alone. Their bodies evolved to survive a death world, and they respond to our treatments in ways we never imagined possible." The humans, in turn, had learned from the Luminary their delicate touch with technology, their advanced sensors, their understanding of light and energy all complemented human strength and endurance. "Our ships now carry Luminary sensor arrays," Walker explained to the assembly. "Their accuracy, combined with our ability to perform high-G maneuvers, makes our fleet even more effective. Any future attackers will face both human strength and Luminary precision." Outside, human Marines patrolled alongside Luminary peacekeepers. The sight of the two species together, one almost transparent and graceful, the other solid and powerful, had become a symbol of their new alliance. "The Ravager's defeat has changed the galaxy's balance of power," Lisa reported. 3 other peaceful species have already requested similar protection agreements. They want the Deathworlders on their side. Mike added his own observation. "Our training facilities here are being modified to include Luminary technology. We're learning to be stronger without sacrificing precision, and the Luminary are learning that strength doesn't have to mean violence." The assembly watched as Tom and Walker signed the official alliance document. It was written on both crystal sheets for the Luminary archives and paper for the human records, a symbol of how their different natures could work together. "Let the galaxy know," Tom declared, his skin glowing with bright patterns of determination. "The Luminary and humans stand together. We offer healing to those who come in peace and strength against those who would harm the innocent." Walker nodded. "Earth has found friends among the stars," he said. "We've spent our history learning to survive on a world that challenged us at every turn. Now we can use that strength to protect those who evolved in gentler places. As the assembly ended, a young luminary child approached Mike, showing curious color patterns. The Marine knelt down, moving slowly to avoid frightening the child. "Are you really from a world that tries to kill you?" the child asked. Mike smiled gently. "We are. But that's what made us strong enough to protect worlds like yours." The child's colors shifted to show understanding. "Then I'm glad you're monsters," the young one said. "You're our monsters." In orbit, human ships patrolled alongside luminary vessels. On the ground, two very different species learned from each other. Across the galaxy, word spread. The Deathworlders had found their purpose. They were no longer feared as monsters. They were known as guardians. The humans had discovered that their greatest disadvantage, evolving on a deadly world, had become their greatest strength. And the luminary had learned that sometimes the most gentle hearts could be found in the strongest bodies. The monsters had become heroes, and the galaxy was better for it.